All right. It looks like, guys, it's 11 o'clock. And we'd like to tell you, and each and every one of you on it, we're excited about the number of people who are with us today. Good morning, and welcome to Connecting with Colleagues. I'm Michelle Wright, VP of Member Resources, and we are, as I can say, very excited that you chose to spend your valuable time with us this morning. And I just wanted to recognize Vanessa. I know she may be en route going somewhere, and she may be on the call and maybe not, but I just wanted to mention her because she was a big part of this project. But before I introduce the wonderful, very talented group of extension professionals who assisted with planning today's session, I just wanted to first start by encouraging you to type your questions in the chat. That will be monitored throughout the entire hour, and they will be saved. Our goal is to try to answer some, but if we can't, we will definitely save those and have them added to the forum so that we can get them answered. But if you don't mind, I see your name, but we would love to know what affiliate you're with. If you don't mind changing it, if it's a big hassle, don't worry about doing it, but we would love to know what affiliate you actually represent. But as we get prepared to move into why we're here today, I believe that we want you more than anything to know that we created this for you. This platform is not for just, and it's for you, it's for the members, and we want to hear you, and we want you to be prepared to speak if you would like to speak. Our goal, more than anything, is just to create an open dialogue related to this topic with a national perspective. That's what's most important to us. But I also have to say, as we've been, if you've gotten on the call, if you were on the call when we were talking about time, we don't have a lot of time today. We have 1 hour, and we have a timekeeper, and she is a stickler, Norma. And Norma will be keeping us on schedule today to ensure that we keep to what we said, which was 1 hour. So without further ado, I want to just say again, thank you to those who have taken the time to help with this particular opportunity. I'm grateful for the fantastic individuals who are with us. And I would like for them to just share their name and their state affiliate, who they're with. So whoever wants to start. And that's going to be the team that was helping with planning this opportunity today.
Good morning. I'm Sandra Davis. I'm a family and community health agent in Harris County with Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service.
Good morning. I am Norma Munoz. I am a family and community health extension agent in Nueces County with Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service.
Callie Garrett, and I'm a family and community health agent in Fayette County.
Karen.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Karen Munden. I am the Family Consumer Science Extension Agent for the City of Virginia Beach for Virginia Tech, and I'm also the State Program Leader for Health for Virginia.
And I do want to say that there's one team member who is not with us today. Her name is Alexis Cordova, and Alexis is ill, so we want to make sure that she knows we thank her for her contribution. So without further ado, I would like for Will to just share the poll percentages related to our topic. Will, were we able to get that on to see how many individuals actually answered those questions?
I'm actually about to run them right now, so everyone can answer them real quick here on the screen. We're going to pop them up one after the other. Please answer as quickly as possible. I'll share the results, and then we can move on, okay?
Awesome.
All right, just a couple more seconds on this first one, please. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end it and share the results.
Wonderful. That's good.
So like a 70-30 split. All right, let's do the next one. For those of you that are offering it, how long have you been conducting? All right, just a couple more seconds. All right, let's show this one too.
Okay, good.
More than 10 years. Awesome. Okay, and for the third and final one, if you're not already, are you interested in starting?
Oh, good. That's good.
All right. And of course, smaller percentage answering because it looks like the majority of you are already offering, but it also looks like we have an 80-20 split, Michelle.
That's good.
I'm going to stop sharing these results,
All right.
and then you guys can let us know when you want to put up the next thing.
All right, I guess that's it. So that was, thank you so much, Will, for doing that. And we, most importantly, we hope that you enjoy the conversation that you're going to hear today. And we know that we positively feel that it's going to benefit you. So at this time, I'm going to actually turn it over to Karen. And Karen is going to start our discussion today with the mutual invitation to speak.
Okay, everyone, I want you to think for just a couple of seconds. What does the word or phrase describe when they're talking about underserved audience to you? If you look in your chat, there should be a link to me. And for a couple of seconds, just think about a word or phrase that best describe underserved audiences. Okay, the most that everyone is putting in would be hard to reach. We're going to give you there's a couple more seconds. Again, what word or phrases describe when you hear underserved audiences? Put it in. Okay. At this time, I noticed that the largest comment that we had was hard to reach. That means most of the individuals responded hard to reach. This is an invitation, open mic. Would anybody like to share why you feel that underserved audiences are hard to reach? And if you just take a couple of, just give us a brief, maybe a minute. Anyone want to share?
I can share. My name is Tracy.
Okay. Go ahead, Tracy.
Thank you. I don't I personally don't think they're hard to reach because I build rapport with them. So I think maybe, and this is just my thought, nothing factual, but I think maybe some people may have the thought of underserved is hard to reach because maybe when they go out into community to talk to those peoples in those people in the community, those people may not understand them. So you have to get to know them and know their why before trying to introduce something new or trying to communicate with them. And I say that from experience with working with an underserved low economical school.
Thank you so much for your comment. The next two that we see was lack of resources and lacking. So they're together, lacking resources and lack of resources. Would anyone like to share just a couple of thoughts there? Anyone? Open mic. Okay. The next word that I see is disconnected. Anyone want to share why they may have put disconnected?
Hello, this is Letitia Hardy in Fort Bend County. So I will just say, as far as like the underserved or anyone that's disconnected means that they pretty much have limited access or decreased access to resources or healthcare or health information or management than the general population.
Okay, thank you very much, Latrice. It's very hard to see, but the next one is not represented as much. Would anyone like to share why they feel when we're talking about this particular audience, they're not represented as much?
Karen, just to let you know, part of the chat, someone said the group of people who are not part of the mainstream in the community or region, which would fit into that somewhat.
Okay. All right. We're going to go with one more, and then we're going to conclude this. And the next one that I see is vulnerable. Who would like to share with vulnerable why they consider this particular audience vulnerable?
I would say, this is Letitia again.
Okay.
I would say that they are pretty much vulnerable just because of the limited availability to limited access to things. You don't really know if you're getting the correct information, or someone can come in and tell you something and you're just believing it because you don't really know that this may not be true, or maybe we're using Google to find, questions to.
Okay. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for your participation in this. And just as the reminder, the largest word was hard to reach. So I am now going to turn this over to Norma.
Thank you, Karen. And thanks everybody for putting in your comments in the chat. A couple of other things that were mentioned was not connected to social media, no internet, no transportation to get to resources that currently exist. And, one thing for us to keep in mind is pride may keep them from asking for assistance. We all have a little bit of that. And that they'd like to pay for what is offered to them for free, so that it's not looked at as charity. So lots of great things as far as your comments. So we appreciate that, and keep them coming, please. All right, so we're going to go ahead. So one of the things we wanted to do is ask y'all to share some of your program successes. So what has worked for you with the group, the underserved group that we are chatting about today. So please feel free, unmute yourself and share with us, or put that in the chat and we'll get back to that as well.
Hello, this is Keyshawn Thomas from Georgia.
Hi, Keyshawn.
Hi, and one of the things I've had success with working with underserved audiences, two things. One thing is meet them where they are. There's no sense in having the program at the country club if everybody visits the local park on Sunday with their families. So meet them where they are. I've had success with working with an HBCU in our area, as well as churches. Churches are a great way to get that population as well. And the other thing with underserved audiences is somebody said it in the chat box about making it not feel like it's charity. Making sure that you build a rapport with them, and making sure that it is not from a judge or a highfalutin, if you will, standpoint, whatever programming you have. Because I notice sometimes we even say them and they. Well, I'm a part of the underserved audiences, depending on which criteria you check. I'm a Black woman living in Georgia. So sometimes being sensitive about the language, and just being sensitive about the human situation.
Absolutely. Thank you, Keyshawn. We must, meeting them where they're at is key. We need to be where they're at. We need to understand. I think somebody mentioned earlier, what's their why, and so meeting them there and understanding is key to being able to reach the audience, the underserved audience, and providing them with what they need in order to have a better life. Thank you so much.
Another thing, Norma, I think maybe a good idea is to, usually in a community, there's someone that is involved, that's in the community, that has grassroots there, that may be able to help initiate a conversation, or be able to bring a new person into that community to be able to, to help, help the people there that may need access. So it may be a good idea to find out who those grassroots people, are, to be able to help introduce you into the community as well.
And
Absolutely.
Oh, I'm sorry, Norma, go
No,
ahead.
go ahead, Michelle, go ahead.
One of the things I wanted to mention also, we need to keep in mind as professionals, I know when we go into communities that are maybe those that are underserved, our dress. We want to dress professional, but don't dress so over the top where they can't, you know, they will think, oh, look how this individual is dressed, look how I'm dressed. So I always make sure that when I go into communities such as that, that my dress doesn't put them off, in a sense, for the lack of a better word, that they don't feel like I cannot communicate with them because they don't look exactly like I look. So I think dress is key there too. Pay attention to the surroundings, go comfortable, and then that way I really believe that helps with their receptivity of you.
I
And
can vouch for
relatable.
that. When I was in the when I first worked in came to Extension, I was trying to do a youth program in this community, and I was dressed like in my little suit and come in with my little heels. And you should see like how those kids were looking at me like, who are you? They were not really receptive at all. It was a lot of them there, but the next time I came, I had like some jeans on and I had a collared shirt, and so they actually became one of my best communities, you know, that I worked with as far as volunteers and things of that nature. So the dress definitely plays a part. You know, people looking at you like maybe you think that you are above, you know, and you know, that's not the perception that you want to give.
Well, and you know, I think we pretty much, Letitia, like we all have our extension shirts, right? I'm wearing one today. There's a couple of us. And so wearing, you know, a logoed shirt and, you know, a nice pair of jeans or just a nice pair of slacks and some flats, I mean, you'll fit in anywhere. So, you know, I keep a blazer and or a little cardigan at the office because sometimes I'm dressed a little bit more casually, but something happens and I need to put on a little jacket or a cardigan or something. So I think we can make that work in any situation. Some of the things somebody added, you know, they agree with the speaker about meeting people in a park, block party, public housing, community room. That's definitely meeting them where they are. Let me see, what else do we have?
I have one suggestion. This is Karen. One of the best things that I've found is when someone invite me into doing a program, I always meet with the coordinator or someone of influence in that community. And instead of going into a community thinking that I know what they want, I actually turn it and ask, what do you want me to bring to your community? So from that point, they have a buy-in, they have an ownership, and they can introduce me to others that I'm coming not to preach to them, but to teach to them.
Mhm.
Right, more conversation, right?
Mhm.
I have found that with those, with the underserved audiences that I interact with, more conversation instead of classroom teaching, preaching type of environment works really well. A lot of times we sit kind of in a round table and it's more of a discussion. You're still educating, you're still teaching, you're still leading, but it puts them more at ease. And that goes for any group of children as well. So we had something interesting placed in the chat. Do you think we have affluent, non-vulnerable people in our communities who are technically underserved, but we don't try to reach them because they don't have a need? This person says that she thinks in extension, when we talk about underserved, we narrow it down to high need audiences.
That's a good one.
Yeah, something we might need to dive a little bit deeper into at some point, right?
I
Okay.
totally agree with that. I've had some successes in, oh, this is Keyshawn in Georgia. I've had some successes with providing estate plans to first responders in our community. And a lot of them were underserved, but they were working people like myself, but they still would be categorized as underserved. And they were so appreciative. They just did not have enough to complete an estate plan, or you know, it was an opportunity for them. So I think that is definitely true. And that can also garner new audiences for us when you get ready to do that impact statement and go up for promotion. That could be considered a new audience.
Mhm.
In my state, we have gone, when it comes to underserved, somebody's talking about technology, we do have little pockets in my state that have little to no bandwidth. So we've gone in different directions in trying to reach out them, especially during the COVID time, and trying to get them educated in the testing and how to get that vulnerable population. Going through a different route have opened up the doors for extension across my state, because there were people that were not accustomed to extension, as well as they were disconnected because of not having bandwidth in their area. So yes, we have reached beyond the technological sense.
And I would just like to add, so there's a difference between the underserved and the limited resource. So the underserved would be those people that are not receiving the same amount of access. And our limited resource could be anyone, any background, any level of income. It's just because you have limited access to those resources, or you have limited knowledge in a certain area.
Hi, this is Chandra, and I work for Kentucky State University. One thing that I have seen that works in this area is working with youth as far as limited resource audiences. Transportation is a big thing. Having volunteers that are willing to pick up kids and take them back home, because sometimes the parents may be tired from work and don't have, I guess they don't, with some programs, they don't see the necessity, especially if it's not like a sports program or something, to pick up their kids or take them back and forth to these programs. And the other thing is timing. Actually, somebody shared from one of the other universities was that they got very good success in after school programs, because the parents were more likely to just pick up the kids from school that one time versus bringing them somewhere at a different time and picking them up. So a lot of times it's people scheduling how many jobs their parents work and things of that nature. So transportation is a big hurdle, especially when you're working with youth, because they can't drive, most of them. So
I'm Jennifer. I'm sorry. I'm Jennifer, and I'm from Mississippi. We're representing Mississippi State. From my experience working with youth in an underserved community, I found that it's important to become relatable. And even with using slang at times, not going in there completely professional, but allowing them to hear my country accent. And even whenever I'm speaking with my elderly community, I started a program called Strength and Flexibility, because many of them wanted to be physically active, being in a retirement community, but they didn't have access to those resources. So we did it at local libraries, and they were comfortable coming in the library. It's something they were familiar, a place they were familiar with. They mentioned that earlier, how being in, a familiar setting, that's extremely important. And again, being very relatable, because when you look at the college education of Native Mississippians who fall in the age group, I can't talk over their heads or I'll lose my clients. So just being extremely relatable and being in a familiar setting. And when I was with the young children, they were at the Community Action Agency. So they were there to receive their GED. So they were already somewhere that I would not have been able to get access to them at all. So maybe even tapping into a location where they have to report to.
Good. Absolutely. Thank you, Jennifer, for sharing that. Okay, so we are up for our time with this first question. We appreciate all your comments, your thoughts, sharing especially, and I just recommend that we go back to that chat, read those, everything in the chat, because there's some really good information. And now I am going to turn this over to Sanja.
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon to some. And I'm going to kind of build on what some of the things that have already been shared. And before I give my question, I do want to say that often we create barriers for recruiting or reaching the underserved with our terminology that we use to recruit. And I'm going to use an example of just financial literacy. So often to some groups, if you say financial literacy, one that may to them, it may come across like they're not doing a good job in managing their finances. So we have to be creative and innovative in our wording and our marketing strategies. So instead of just saying a financial literacy program, we may say making your money count, using those catchy phrases and titles. The 3 R's of finance: reserving, reality, and reflecting. Reserving is saving your money. Reality, do I need to purchase this? And reflecting, where did my money go? So we want to make it appealing and entertaining. Other things that we need to consider are, does this audience trust me? And I know that's been discussed earlier. And are they trusting me? And are they trusting the information that I'm providing? And it's been discussed also, is this program in a location that they can get to? Is it on the bus route if it's in the city? Is this, in their community, or is it on the other side of town, or sometimes out of the city? So we have to consider, the accessibility of it. Is it offered at a time that's convenient? Are we offering it at 8 o'clock in the morning when we know that's not a good time? People don't like to get up early, and when they have to get up early, they have things to do. Would a 10 o'clock or a 12 o'clock lunch meeting work? So consider our time. And if they have children, are we providing coloring books and little activities for the kids to be there and they're quiet? Because a lot of times people just don't have childcare. And I know in Extension, some programs don't have funding, but offering food and other incentives. And a lot of ways that we can offer these things is working with that person in the community to help us. If it's at a church, if you're providing this at a church, maybe the church, the church sisters or the mothers can provide those snacks. So with that being said, I'm going to move into my question. So my question is, has anyone experienced any barriers, and how did you overcome those? Any barriers in programming to the underserved audiences? And if so, how did you overcome those?
This is Karen. I had gone to a community which that was invited, but they did not tell me that the individual spoke Spanish. I don't speak Spanish, and fortunate for me, there were a couple of people who understood a little Spanish, so I would talk and they would translate, but I don't know if the translation came through. So that barrier was a language barrier. And again, someone had invited me into the community. That was a big barrier for me.
Thank you, Karen. Anyone else? We have some things in the chat, but I want to allow those who want to speak to go ahead.
This is Barbara Woods from Iowa. I think one of the barriers, at least it hasn't been for me, I'm African American, yet I've worked in all predominantly white environments. So based on early training about community development and how you engage with people was beneficial. So basically, I think sometimes we see barriers when it's really, we don't have appropriate training to understand how you enter a community in which you do not live, or which you might think you don't belong. So part of it is, I don't want us to rest on the fact that we don't look like, talk like, whatever, think like the people we're trying to work with. I'm hoping we can view, I'm working with someone, I want to work with people who are interested in learning. I'm going to try to figure out what it is that I have as an extension employee that could be beneficial to them, irrespective of who they are. So that's why I put the note in several times. I have a problem with using underserved and underrepresented. I believe they are code words, and I could be wrong, but I believe they're code words. And so I'm hoping that from our diversity, equity, and inclusion, we can move to a term that is respectful and try to and not soft sell that people pay taxes or they don't pay taxes. It doesn't matter. We're there to serve people in those communities. That's all.
Thank you so much.
Very good.
Thank you. So some of the items in the chat, let me find those. I saw some really good ones.
There's some good ones.
Appealing words may answer our communities. Why should I attend, and will this be helpful to me? Connect with the locals to provide snacks, food to entice. And then I think he did the question. Kids always welcome at my programs, and I try to acknowledge, include them in the discussion if I can. And Joanna stated, I have faced trust issues working with refugee communities and migrant workers. Thus, I identify with them through working the fields with them and speaking Spanish.
Oh, wow.
One of our agents was able to use a translator in the group to do a program for the Spanish speaking. And Tina stated, barrier was stepping into the community. Relationship building really takes someone who is invested in bringing me along. And Kimberly, everything that we did last year was a barrier. I serve older adults and I had to teach them how to use technology in order to get my training to them. So some things you need to reevaluate your programs to fit the need. And I think it goes back to trust and building those relationships. I feel like people can sense when we come with a hidden agenda. They know that we're not coming because we want to come, and they can sense that. So I feel like a lot of us, for the most part, I saw how many years we've been here. A lot have been here for 10 years or more. And I think we have a passion for helping people. And when we come off sincere and wanting to help people, then they can sense that, and they're going to be eager to accept us and even recruit more people. And when it's time for us to go back to that community, they'll, oh yeah, I attended her program, it was great. So they're our biggest recruiters. We have several more comments in the chat, but would anyone else like to state anything?
I want to share something. So I had this community that I worked in initially. I was told that those people are not receptive. Don't waste your time. I just got a lot of negative things. Like the director, wasn't like the most pleasant to work with. And so I really wanted to reach out to this community because they had a lot of kids that we could have them to join like the 4-H program, and with them joining the 4-H program, they would be able to get like more benefits to be able to go to some of the other youth programs that we were having. And so I decided to do like a talent show, and we got so many kids like showed up to that talent show. It was just something that just put together, let them come get some snacks and some prizes. And then I was worried that we were not going to have any kids participate just because of all the bad things that I heard initially. And so, but when we had it, it turned out very well, and we actually built relationships. And not only that, the director even started calling me to have me come do classes just for her people. So I think it's more so your personality as well, and people wanting to work with you, like showing that you are approachable, that you are sincere as you stated.
Yes, Letitia, thank you. And a lot of the discussion in the chat was directed towards partnerships. One person stated that they started off in a community and the partner was excited, and then eventually the partner just lost interest, and then that trickled down to the participants. Partnerships are really, really difficult. I think you could have a whole different connecting with partners on a connecting program on partnerships. But I think but just because the partner loses their interest, you have to remember why you're there. You're there for those people, the participants. And I didn't mean those people, but you're there for the clients, and just continue to do what you need to do.
Can I share something, Sandra?
Sure.
I would maybe perhaps think about what was actually being taught, because if that was something what did the clients want? And if it's something they really want, they will stay on that partner to make sure that they keep you there. I would consider the topic and the subject matter, because I guarantee you that will put some fire under that partner to keep the doors open for you to come. And just think about that in the future.
Yes, and even if you see the partner losing interest, maybe you should have a one-on-one with the partner that, has something changed. You don't know if that person is getting directives from their management, but, have a conversation with the management. Maybe it's the timing, or it's just worth having a conversation to see if, have things gone a different way, and maybe you need to stop programming now and resume later, but it's always worth having a conversation.
This is
So I
Chandra,
had one
and
more thing.
Okay,
go ahead.
can we, okay.
Oh. I'm sorry.
There were 3 people talking, so I think Betty, can you go second? Chandra, can you go third? And
We
the
have
other
about 1 minute left.
Oh, okay, and another person speaking, can you go ahead? Okay, we'll go to Betty.
Okay. I was just going to mention that I don't know if this is more of working with partnerships, definitely, but more of a logistics thing rather than a barrier. But I know we were working with the school district to get parents to come to classes and so forth. And we thought at the time, having the parents hear from the school district how much supportive they were of our classes and so forth would be a great thing for them to hear. And so all of the initial thing was coming from their end of it. And this last time I decided that we were going, because we had issues with the parents contacting the school to say they weren't able to come or wanted more information on this topic or that topic, and then it wasn't like a clear understanding of what was going on. So anyway, we ended up arranging that they posted in their newsletter our link so that they could register with us. And instead, we weren't getting information from the school as far as who was going to come and what their data information was and all of this kind of thing. So once we took over the registration of that, we were the ones able to send out reminders and follow up with this client and that client about questions and things like that. And it seemed to work out so much better. And so like I said, that's probably more of a logistics thing than anything, but again, it's working with your partnership to let them understand how we wanted direct contact with the participants instead of them being the ones that they were the go-to. They didn't understand all of the questions that we were getting, and we didn't understand all the participants' needs that they may have heard from. And so this way it kind of cut them out, but we shared with them enrollments and everything else that they needed to know, and that was no problem then.
Thank you so much, Betty. Thank you. And Chandra, we didn't get to you, but if you don't mind, please share it in the chat.
Yes.
Okay.
And we might be able to get back to it at the very end. So thanks. And you'd like to go ahead and pass that over as soon as you're done.
Okay. I want you all to think about yourselves for just a moment. With this question, it says, can someone share any professional development opportunities that you've had in this area? Over your extension career, or maybe before your extension career, any professional development opportunities. And if you haven't had any, could it be a professional development opportunity that NEAFCS could provide for you? So if you have not already had it, is there something that we could do at the national level?
Karen, Barbara shared with us during the previous question a community development training. Barbara, would you mind sharing, maybe give us a little overview of that training that you did to help you learn how to enter communities? Barbara Woods.
Well, part of I've been around long enough to remember concepts around community development. And there are some things that you learn when you learn about community development, or even foreign work in foreign environments, at which you learn about indigenous knowledge within the context of any environment. And so understanding what makes up those communities, whomever they are, and understanding how they interact with each other, how they interact with outsiders, those kinds of things can help you not fall into the trap of saying inappropriate things, behaving in ways that are inappropriate. Try, even with the educational programming, understanding, for example, if you're talking about finance, you do not go to certain people and use buying a retirement home as the example why they ought to want to save and or invest money. Knowing, so part of community development, depending on where you learn it, can help you understand what you need to know about engaging outside of what you know. That's all.
Thank you very much. You know what, Barbara Woods, that might be a topic for a professional development for NEAFCS to invite others. Thank you so much. Do we have anybody else that may have ideas if we don't already have a professional development opportunities?
I saw something from Susan, and I want to say I thought it was Susan. It was in the chat. I need to open the chat and check.
You said, okay.
Karen, I think one of the things that, this is Jane from North Carolina. There was one thing that was, I attended recently, and it was actually a collaboration between North Carolina and Virginia called Coming Together for Racial Understanding. And it was a series of, it was a series that we went through in small groups. And to me, that was very helpful to really, we did some activities virtually, but to really see, even amongst our work groups or people across campus, how each of us had gone through different things and where we were. And so that was a really good thing to work with as well. But you know, what I'm really hearing being said is Extension really needs to work on cultural competencies. What I hear Barbara Wood saying is we need to know what is appropriate, what is the language of the people we work with, what are the habits of the people we work with, what are the norms that people have that we are working with, and that that really is the heart of it. And just going, I think professionals are afraid to go in with an open mind into a new community or a community that's different from them. We go in and say, we're going to change this community. But you know what happens? That community changes us.
This is Barbara Woods. For those of you who are familiar with Children, Youth, and Families at Risk, they still are functioning. That website and all is still up. You might want to go there because they have had over the years a number of resources. And Barb Wolin from Iowa is making reference to some materials. So you might want to go to that database to see if there are things there, and also if they're having training, because they still do trainings and talking about various audiences, which might be beneficial, even though we're not working in those research projects, in the SciFar effort, we still have access to those resources.
Okay, very good.
Thank you, Barbara. And somebody was saying something?
Yes, I would like to add something. Somebody was saying, you know, when you're going to work with a community, you know, to know the norms, to do that. And that's one of the key, either you're starting relationship or you're building partnership. And that's one of the things I always look for first. I need to know the community. Because some individuals saying, yeah, the partnership died. Yes, because they died, there is something was missing. There's either they will turn out of the employer, or there is something you did, maybe you hurt the community. So maybe you didn't know the value, you didn't know the thing. Maybe you didn't know maybe that day was a holiday. Maybe something you did that is offending that community. So that's the key. Know the community before you get in.
Okay, thank you.
I think that's
There's also a training called Navigating Differences that Illinois had a core team of trainers that went around and provided navigating differences for all of the extension staff in our state. And that was a really very good program.
Eddie, do you have that link? Is there a link to that?
Okay. The chat is really going. I can't catch it all. I'm trying to catch them all, and I know it's time to close. But I just want to state, Jane McBurney was talking about the coming together for racial understanding, and just to let you know that Virginia have been very progressive in extension, have been very progressive. We've been doing the racial understanding twice a month, ever since probably May of last year. And what Jane was talking about, it's a very good platform to be able to speak freely and to get to understand colleagues and get to understand how we work in different communities. So I'm not sure if you all have that in your state, but North Carolina and Virginia have been moving forward with that, having people in small groups really talking about it and not being afraid to express some of the experiences that they have had, barriers that's in our workplace, some of the trials and tribulations, even trying to get up for promotion and things that happen, and going into different communities and those roadblocks and things like that. So it's have been a very good platform for us. And continue to put your information in the chat. I apologize, they were running so fast I couldn't catch them all. At this time, I'm going to turn this over to, is it Sally?
I do have one question before we move on. Are we going to just specifically, I guess my question goes back to Barbara's question, are we specifically assigning race as the litmus test for underserved? Because I see a lot of racial relations as a topic for NEAFCS and racial understanding, coming together for racial understanding. Is that the entire criteria, or?
Yeah, I think we need to look at the new groups that are moving into our community. And years ago was managing a complex, apartment complex in Austin. And he said to me, this is a group you need to work with. These women are coming from Pakistan. And he said they don't know how to use the stoves and the different, appliances that they have. I think sometimes we need to even just get back to basics and say, how can I help you, make adjustments to what you have? It's a variety of things when we say the underserved or the audience that's in need. We need to, I know people have said this earlier, we need to look at our community and how it's changing and what we can do to bring to them those needs that they have. I like what Barbara said, meeting their needs.
Thank you, Sally.
I would like to add to that. I think Jane said it right when she said cultural competencies. And it isn't all about race. I mean, there are different cultures in a certain housing complex. Or I mean, there are cultural differences between middle class and lower income families and communities. So I think you were right to ask that question and to point out that it's not all about race.
It's not.
But it is a lot about culture. I think Jane's point was perfect.
Thank you, Barb, so much for that. We'll move on to number 4. Sandra, Michelle, which one of y'all are taking number 4?
It doesn't matter. I can go on and do that one since Sandra, I'm gonna give you a break, Sandra.
We've got 10 minutes left.
10 minutes left. Okay, we don't have much. We're looking at resources that you're currently using to conduct programs. Are you willing, or can anyone share the resources? If you're doing something already in your area, share those resources in the chat box that can help us get the word out for others who are on this call today when it comes to conducting programs for those who are underserved. Can anyone share anything off the top of their head? I know we've talked about some, we've talked about SciFar, we've talked about a variety of different ones. So this may be, we might can just go on to the next topic and let those who have those resources and resources that are not in the chat, go ahead and put them in the chat. So I'm going to turn it over to Sally. Is that okay?
And I know Will has been listening, and he's kind of thrown a few things out here.
Yes,
But
yes.
we need to know from you today, and there's been some great discussion. What would you like to know more about on this specific programming area? And we've gotten a few ideas, but are there some specifics that you would like to see the opportunities for discussion or possibly developing some professional development?
It would be great if you put it in the chat too, so that we can have it, because the chat will be saved. You can definitely say it too.
Earlier, Will said something like, "Oh, that would be a good topic. You know, if you all be interested in." I didn't write it down at the time, so we've got a lot in the chat box. But give us ideas of where we can go to assist you, to help you get where you want to be with your program.
I can say from experience working on some of the boards here in my county, the hardest and most difficult barrier to cross are cultural boundaries, and having some form of curricula to even present to the boards, because they're the ones who truly need it, because they can't be as influential in the community as they want to because of the lack of cultural competency. And I actually contacted someone at the state level because all we had was the racial understanding. And it's not always racial, it's cultural. And that's like one of the greatest barriers for us. So if anyone has curricula or something pertaining to cultural competency, please share.
Now, years ago, I got a training on it from a woman that would work with executives that were going to different countries to understand what was norm, what was acceptable. You know, shaking a hand isn't acceptable in all countries. There are a lot of things that are, and we need to respect that, because there's some things I like that other people don't. And so, you know, we need to be respectful of others, and we build better rapport with them and have a good relationship, and we can reach that audience.
Are there plans for NEAFCS to work on this or pull together a working group for this? Or because that's the other thing, a lot of times we have these conversations, and we had a conversation in July, and then next July it's like, let's have a conversation again about underserved audiences. But are there plans to actually do something, I guess, is the question.
Keyshawn, that is definitely the goal, is for us to be able to address those things and to take it a step further and not have it just reappear on the burner each and every time someone wants to discuss it. We will be looking into that. And I think the discussion from today's session shares that this is a need, not something that we can just brush over. It is a need. And for that very reason, yes, we are going to definitely take it a step further and see what we can do, because I know we want to have an opportunity to be able to go a little deeper. And Norma mentioned that earlier. There are, whatever topic, there might be things within the topic that we want to go a little deeper in, and to continue this conversation, to keep it going, to see how we can make a difference and how we can make something happen. Something has to change. So yes. And we're going to be looking for good people to be able to serve on those, to serve with those opportunities. And you would be a great one to have on there. So please put your information and contact information in the chat so that we can use that. Anyone else on right now, if you would be willing to serve in that role, please let us know that by sticking that information in the chat, because that's where it begins. That's when action happens, and that's when change will arise.
And I would just say,
I'm sorry, I don't know if you all can hear me. I have a suggestion about cross-cultural competency. This has nothing to do with extension, but our international student services at U of M, this is Twin Cities, has staff training on cross-cultural perspectives to help them serve the international student community better than they otherwise would by educating themselves, not just about the cultural differences among Americans, but also among international students. So if that's something that you are open to, having someone who's not in extension but is interested in the area, I can certainly check with them to see if they're willing to give a webinar or a session or a discussion or something along those lines. Just let me know.
Thank you. Just please put your information in the chat so that we can definitely reach out to you, because this is the only way that we're going to see a difference.
Right. And what I was just going to say is, Keyshawn, definitely everything 100% what Michelle said. And I would also just throw in the obvious thing to me after listening to today's discussion is, I mean, I'll be the first to say it. I felt I had a pretty good grip on a lot of different cultural competencies, working with different audiences. I mean, I've dedicated my life to trying to be a sensitive person who tries to understand and come to people on their terms, just as myself. But it became very apparent that we're still not doing a good enough job bringing up things of referring to people as they, or getting it confused with just race, or. So as Michelle said, we're going to need a lot of people at this table to drive this forward in a way that we are all proud of, that we can all stand behind. And so, like Michelle said, we're going to want to tap a lot of you, and we hope that you'll serve and help us move this forward into the future that you want to see happen.
Because and can I say this? Because when you're a national officer, and several of you are and have been, you have a season and then you're gone. So the way for this to continue is for us to develop those opportunities that would allow it to continue. So that's why we need your help.
We're always selling our associations for professional development. I always gain a lot, but I think especially the new people that are coming in, we need to strengthen our professional development, what we're offering through our state and our national associations to keep ourselves strong. We're going to do better programs. We're going to be in a better place. Our community.
Yes, we will be. And I think we're getting close to concluding today, y'all. Norma, is that okay? That'll be the segue. I want to first
3 minutes.
3 minutes. Okay. I want to first start by saying thank you to each and every one of you who is on the call right now. We could not have done this without y'all. This conversation could not have. I'm just overwhelmed. I'm actually amazed and overwhelmed because y'all talked, and that's how things. That's what makes the difference. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for doing that, and a heartfelt thank you to all of the individuals who helped to make sure that this event happened today. From Will to Sandra, Sally, Karen, Alexis, Norma, and to you, most importantly, as the member. This is a member benefit for you, and we want this conversation to keep going. So thank you so much for participating in the second Connecting with Colleagues. And I want to also say, this is one thing that we will be doing in the future. We are looking for moderators. We are looking for people who have topics that would love to host events such as this. This is going to continue, not stop. So if you're interested in hosting and moderating a Connecting with Colleagues in the future, we've had some people, there's a portal, and I might let Will share that portal before we get off, where you can go in and actually enter the topic that you're interested in moderating, and then we will work through the process of having it set, getting a date, the whole 9 yards. But we are looking for these types of events to continue with Connecting with Colleagues, not with us as national officers, but with members wanting to step up and take the reins and say, hey, I will moderate. I want to host a session. So that's what we're looking for. So please keep that in your mind. Will you share that before we get off?
Michelle.
Yes,
go ahead, Will. Go ahead. I just wanted to thank you and your group, Michelle. I think this was a great conversation. I loved all the participation from our members, and I think you have a great point. Each of us are on the board for just a season, so we need to have people that will be able to carry on these great things that are being started by the board. We don't want them to end when your term is up or my term is up. So we need people to step up and carry on the great work that is being started. So thank you.
Thank y'all.
Okay, Will.
Now it's your turn, Will.
Sorry, I was going to ask, are you talking about the the suggestion for topics?
Yes.
Here, let me share my screen real quick with everybody so you can see real quick where to go. It's very simple to get there. It's right from our front page. Sorry, let me just back up so I can show you. I want to make sure I have the right thing. So here's our website, right? Right here under member opportunities, we've got the connecting with colleagues section that you can reach. And right here, if you click that link, that'll take you to a really quick, simple form you can fill out. You'll need to log in to do so, but it gives you the come on. My internet's unhappy, but it's a really quick form. I apologize. It's a really quick form that asks about who you are and what topic you would like to see represented and maybe what month you're thinking you might be able to facilitate or that kind of thing. We want all of that. We want to hear from you. We want to get as much of a spread of topics and things that you guys are interested in as possible. So please come to the Connecting with Colleagues page. Go ahead and do that. If you want to send me an email, I put membership@neafcs.org. Email us and I can help you with that. I can answer any questions. If you don't want to fill out the form, email me. We'd rather you fill out the form there so we have a record of it.
And Will, can you put that link in the chat because this is recorded and so people can always go back and look at it?
Yes, ma'am. I'll do that right now.
That'll be great. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much again. And look for more information and more opportunities in the future.